Welcome back. Okay, so we've got a pretty big day on Saturday. Now, there's a lot of early starts because you can't have starts. I think it's 22 hours between start times is the closest they can be. And because every game tomorrow is a matinee game due to the Super Bowl, we have a lot of early starts. I'm going to try to review these 6 games by themselves, and then these 8 later games would go by themselves as well. I will do my best to make this work. So, starting at noon Eastern, that's 9 a.m. Pacific, so that's an early start. Vancouver in against the Detroit Red Wings. This is the start of a home and home, which is weird. They will meet again on February 13th in Vancouver. Vancouver's 21, 27, and 4. Their last 10 games, they're 4, 5, and 1. Away from home, they're 11, 14, and 3. They have a negative 29 as their goal differential. They're 12 points back of Minnesota. Keep an eye on Vancouver in that they seem to be playing a little bit, I don't want to use the term looser, but they're a little more relaxed, I think. Looser makes it sound like they're not as good defensively, but their penalty kill's been better since Tocchet took over. And of course, new assistant coaches might be part of that as well. That's always been the thing said about Vancouver. So we'll see how things go against a Detroit team that needs wins. They're 22, 20, and 8. Their last 10 games, they're 4, 5, and 1 as well. Their home record 13, 11, and 3. Their goal differential a negative 17. They're 8 points back of the Washington Capitals. So if they want to get back in the hunt, they've got to go on a bit of a streak here. And then a half an hour later at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. This is going to be a great weekend for those of you in Europe. Buffalo beat Calgary 6-3 in Calgary on October 20th. Calgary's going to try to return the favor. The Flames are 24, 18, and 10 overall. Their last 10 games are 5, 4, and 1. Away from home, they're 10, 9, and 8. They're coming off that loss in Detroit. They have a +3 for their goal differential. They're tied with Minnesota for that final playoff spot, but they've played one more game. Buffalo's 26, 20, and 4. And see, I'm wearing this first time I've worn this one. I like it. Their last 10 games, Buffalo's been 6, 2, and 2. At home, they're 11, 13, and 2. They have a +16 for their goal differential, and that home record really hurting their chances of making the playoffs. But they're only 4 points back of Washington. So, if they can win their share of home games from here, they very well could end up finishing on the top side of the top 8 in that conference, which would be kind of weird, but I'm all for it. Also at 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, the Edmonton Oilers and the Montreal Canadiens. Edmonton Oilers and the Ottawa Senators. The Montreal Canadiens are here. That's the next game. We're going to talk about this one first. The Oilers and the Sens haven't played yet this year. They will play again on March 14th in Edmonton. The Oilers are 29, 18, and 5. They're undefeated in regulation in their last 10. They're 8, 0, and 2. Away from home, they're 16, 7, and 2, so that helps. They have a +27 for their goal differential, and they're now tied with Seattle and LA, just a few points back of Vegas. So look out for those Oilers. The Sens, on the other hand, they're 24, 23, and 3 over their last 10. They're 6 and 4. At home, they're 14, 11, and 1. Their goal differential is a -8. They are 9 points back of Washington, and much like the Detroit Red Wings, really need to get on a run. Also at 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, we have the New York Islanders and the Montreal Canadiens. The Islanders won the first matchup January 14th by a score of 2-1. The third and final meeting will be on April the 12th. For the Islanders, they're 27, 23, and 5. Their last 10 games, they're 4, 5, and 1. Away from home, they're 11, 13, and 3. They have a +8 for their goal differential. They're coming off that loss against Vancouver. That should tick them off. They're only 1 point back of the Washington Capitals for that last playoff spot. But again, they've played more games than everybody else that they're up against, so they need to get some wins going. Montreal's 20, 27, and 4. Their last 10, they're 4, 5, and 1 as well, which is a common number on the board. At home, they're 11, 14, and 1. They have a -55 for their goal differential. They're 16 points out of the playoffs. So Montreal, definite sellers. The Islanders need to take advantage, which they did not do against the Vancouver Canucks. Also at 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. So again, if you're in Europe, it's a smorgasbord. You guys will have 6 different games to choose from before your bedtime. So Philadelphia went into Nashville and won 3-1 on October 22nd. That was during the really good start Philadelphia had, at least surprising start. Nashville's going to look for some measure of revenge. They're 24, 19, and 6 overall. Their last 10 games are 5 and 5. Away from home, they're 10, 11, and 3. They're 8. They have a -8 for their goal differential. They're only 4 points back of Minnesota, and they have 2 games in hand. So Nashville has to be quite happy about the struggles in the Minnesota Wild right now. Philadelphia 22, 22, and 9. Their last 10 games are 4, 4, and 2. At home, they're 11, 13, and 2. The same home record as Buffalo. caused me to do a bit of a double take to make sure I wasn't making a mistake on the board. No, it really does come down to the fact that Buffalo is much better on the road than Philly. Negative 20 for the goal differential for Philadelphia. They are 7 points back of the Washington Capitals for that final playoff spot. And then at 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, we've got the Tampa Bay Lightning in against Dallas. November 15th, it was a 5-4 overtime win for the Tampa Bay Lightning at home. Tampa Bay's 33-16-2 overall. Their last 10 games, they're 6-3-1. Away from home, they've had their struggles. They're 12-12 on the road. They have a plus 32 for their goal differential. They are 10 points ahead of Florida for third place in that division. So they're pretty firmly entrenched in third. If they could string some more wins together, they might threaten Toronto for second. Dallas 30-13-10. Their last 10 games, they're 5-2-3. At home, they're 15-5-6. They have a plus 44 for their goal differential. Not too shabby. They're 5 points clear of the slumping Winnipeg Jets for first place in the division. Then we get to 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. That's the start time between the Washington Capitals and the Boston Bruins. Boston won the first matchup October the 12th by a score of 5-2. The third and final meeting will be April the 11th. Washington's 27-20-6. Their last 10 games are 4-6. Another team with a mediocre record over their last 10. Away from home, they're 13-12-3. Their goal differential is a plus 14. They are 1 point clear of the Islanders, as previously stated, but they do have games in hand on those Islanders. Then you get to the Boston Bruins, who still have the ridiculous record of 39-7-5. They lost a few, and then they beat Toronto going into the break. Their last 10, they're 7-2-1. At home, they're 22-1-3. Seattle providing that one regulation loss. Boston's going to look to keep it at that. They have a goal differential of plus 81. I double checked. It's ridiculous. They're 11 points clear of Toronto in first place in that division. Then we fast forward to 6 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Pacific. The Colorado Avalanche in against Florida. January 10th, Florida wins this matchup 5-4 in Colorado. And I remember that because it felt like that was a big loss for Colorado. The Avs are 27-19-4 over their last 10. They're 7-2-1. Away from home, they're 14-10-1. They have 12 more goals scored than they've allowed. They have a plus 12 for their goal differential. They're tied with Minnesota for third, but they have one game in hand on Minnesota. So they are third place in the division right now. Florida's 26-22-8, or 26-22-6, I should say. Don't start adding overtime loss points, Shannon. Last 10 games, they're 6-2-2. At home, they're 15-7-3. They have a plus 4 for their goal differential. 2 points back of Washington. It definitely feels like Florida's got their game back together. Between Florida, between Buffalo, and the Islanders, this race in the East is nowhere near done yet. One of those three teams could end up in a playoff spot by the end of the season, and it'll be up to teams like Washington and maybe Pittsburgh to make sure that doesn't happen. 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific start between Columbus and Toronto, the second half of back-to-backs. Toronto won the game tonight, 3-0. We'll see how they do tomorrow at home. The third and final meeting will be on April the 4th. For Columbus, they're 15-33-4. Their last 10 games are 2-6-2. Away from home, miserable record, 4-17-2. Their goal differential is now a negative 70, and they're 26 points behind Washington for that last playoff spot in the East. On the Toronto side, they're 32-13-8. They're 6-3-1 in their last 10. At home, they're 20-5-4. That's a ridiculous record as well. Plus 37 in goal differential, and they're 4 points clear of the Tampa Bay Lightning in second place in that division. 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific start between the New York Rangers and the Carolina Hurricanes. So what's interesting is there's more matinee games than there are late games tomorrow. This is something I've never seen before that I can remember. I'm sure it's happened on Super Bowl weekends before. So for the Rangers, they did win in Carolina. They beat Carolina, I should say. Beat Carolina 5-3 on January 3rd. I can't say in Carolina because I don't remember if that one was in Carolina or not. The third and fourth meetings between these teams will be March 21st and March 23rd, so back-to-backs there. The Rangers 30-14-8. They have to feel pretty good. Tarasenko had a great debut. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10. Away from home, they're 14-5-4. They have a plus 33 for their goal differential, and they're 7 points clear of Pittsburgh. So they're pretty firmly entrenched in third place as well, as, say, Tampa is in theirs. Carolina 34-9-8, leading the division, 9-0-1 in their last 10. They've been fantastic. At home, they're 17-5-2. They have a plus 37 for their goal differential. They're 4 points clear of New Jersey atop the division. So the Devils have been playing very well. it's hard to catch a team that's just not losing, as Carolina is not. 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific start between the Coyotes and the St. Louis Blues. You'll notice the no mercy magnets on this side because we've had goal differentials of 5 or more, including the 5-0 beating that Arizona put on St. Louis January 26th. I'm not going to say for sure that was the game that made St. Louis decide to sell, but it can't have hurt. The third meeting will be on March the 7th between these teams. Arizona's 17-28-7, coming off an overtime loss tonight against Chicago. They're 4-4-2 in their last 10 away from home, 6-20-5. Negative 46 is their goal differential. They're 17 points back of Minnesota for that final playoff spot in the West. On the St. Louis side, picture's not much better. They're 23-25-3 overall. Their last 10, they're 3-7. Ouch. At home, 10-12-2. That's an ouch as well. Negative 29 is their goal differential, and they're 9 points back of Minnesota for that final playoff spot. I don't think we're getting a miracle this year from St. Louis. 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific start as well between New Jersey and the Minnesota Wild. This is the first of 2 meetings. They'll meet again March 21st. That's right, Minnesota. And your fans. The road doesn't get easier. New Jersey 34-13-4. Their last 10, they're 8-1-1. They've started winning at home, but they're really good on the road. They're 19-3-2 on the road. They have a plus 43 as their goal differential. They're 4 points clear of New York for second place in that division. On the Minnesota side, they're 27-20-4 their last 10 games. They're 4-6. It's been a rough go for them lately. At home, they're 15-9-1. They have a plus 5 with their goal differential. They're tied with Colorado, who are third. They are also tied with Calgary, who are just below them. Right now, the number 2 wildcard spot belongs to Minnesota. It is a very, very tenuous hold they have on that spot. 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 Pacific start between Chicago and Winnipeg. Let me double check that start time because that seems ridiculous. Yep, that's what the app says. So that's a really late start. Isn't that like a 9 o'clock start for Winnipeg? Man. Anyways, Winnipeg's won all 3 matchups so far between these teams, including one that's a no mercy magnet here. It's 4-0 on November 5th, 7-2 on November 27th, and 3-1 on December 9th. So we'll see what happens in this one. Chicago, 16-29-5, coming off an overtime win tonight. They're 5-4-1 in their last 10. As away from home, they're 6-13-2. They have a negative 58 for their goal differential. They are 21 points behind Minnesota for that final playoff spot. On the Winnipeg side, they're 32-19-1. They're 5-5 in their last 10. That break came at the exact right time for them. They really, really needed that. At home, they're 18-8. They're 7 points clear of Colorado for that third spot, for the second spot in the division. They are plus 29 in goal differential. So they're not in any danger in terms of falling out of second place, but they need to start getting some wins because you know Colorado's going to start doing that again too. Then, rounding things out, 7:30 Pacific, 10:30 Eastern start. Got to have a California 7:30 start in there, and sure enough we do. Pittsburgh and LA. So Pittsburgh won the first meeting October 20th by a score of 6-1. Penguins are 26-16-9 coming off that huge win over Anaheim. They're 5-2-3 in their last 10. They are now 11-10-5 on the road. They have a plus 12 for their goal differential, and they're 1 point ahead of Washington. So they're no longer the number 2 wild card. They're now the number 1 wild card. On the LA side, they're 28-18-7. Their last 10 games are 5-4-1. At home, they're 14-9-2. A negative 10 for their goal differential. The goaltending has been an issue at times. They are tied with Edmonton and Seattle for second spot, third spot, first wild card. We'll see how it all shakes down, won't we? But it should be an interesting night. Let me know your winners of these 14 games in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.